A total solar eclipse is the ultimate celestial event. For a brief period, the moon will pass directly in front of the sun, covering it completely. For a lot of people, this is a life-changing moment. It helps you feel the reality of our Earth's place within the solar system like never before. The brightest planets orbiting the sun that you normally can't see during the daytime will appear in the sky, and the animals will think it's nighttime. While experiencing this event with a simple pair of eclipse glasses is enough to get you hooked, I know a lot of you will want to photograph the event as well. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to capture the event using an ordinary camera and lens, and a certified solar filter. Before I go any further, I need you to know how important it is to not look at the sun. Don't look at it with binoculars, a telescope, a toilet paper roll, unless you have a certified solar filter. The sun will melt your eyeballs and your camera sensor without one of these. During the eclipse, even when the sun is partially covered, you can't look at it without certified solar film. Only when totality begins, when the sun is completely covered by the moon, can you take your glasses off. It doesn't last long, so you need to be ready. There are 5 stages to the eclipse. It starts with the partial phase, and you need to make sure your filter and your glasses are on. As the sun becomes fully eclipsed, the diamond ring and Bailey's beads effects happen, just before totality. Then it's totality, maximum eclipse. You can take those glasses and your filter off, but not for long. Now the moon starts moving away and the sun reappears, and it gets brighter and brighter outside. Finally, the event ends with the moon completely out of the way. Time to check out the pictures you got. To photograph the total solar eclipse, all you need is a camera and lens, a tripod, and some solar film. Here is the exact setup I'm using to photograph the sun from my backyard as I practice for the upcoming eclipse. A Canon EOS R camera, a 400mm lens, and a universal solar filter from Celestron. An intervalometer is also very handy. This will allow you to take shake-free shots and automate a sequence of images. A setup like this will allow you to capture the different phases of the eclipse, including the jaw-dropping moment of totality, solar corona and all. The filter I'm using was designed for camera lenses that are 75 to 100mm in diameter. It's affordable and easy to pop on and off, which is really important for totality. The bottom line is make sure the filter is on during the partial phases and off during totality. A DSLR or mirrorless camera is best because these cameras give you full control over key settings like ISO and shutter speed. Most of them also have a flip out screen and a live view mode to help you set up your shot. If you don't have a camera like this yet, this eclipse is the perfect excuse to finally get one. You can take time lapses, videos, or detailed photos of each phase. A nice composite image of the entire event can turn out really cool. I'll talk to you about the exact settings you need to use in a minute, but let's talk lenses next. The focal length of your camera lens will determine how big the sun will appear in your images, and you'll want to use your longest one. The lens I'm using has a focal length of 400mm, and I'm increasing that even more with a 1.4 times teleconverter. With the extender in place, I'm up to 560mm at f8. The ideal range is about 500 to 600mm, but anything over 200mm will work just fine. The size of your image frame will depend on the size of your camera sensor, either a crop sensor or a full frame. If you've ever shot the moon before with your kit, that's how big the sun will be too. If you go too deep, like 1000mm, you run the risk of cutting off the edges of the corona, which I'll talk about more in a minute. If you're using a zoom lens, make use of its longest focal length and keep it locked into that position. You'll need to use manual focus for this project, as that sun through the filter is a tough target for your camera's autofocus system. Let's take a look at the camera settings you'll need to use next. Okay, so you have your camera and lens set up on a tripod, your solar filter in front. Now what? Well, first you need to find the sun, and it's not as easy as you may think. Use the live view screen to pan around the sky in the direction of the sun. At 560mm, I had to do a bit of searching to finally get my lens pointed at it. You'll want to make sure all of your shots are taken in raw image format so that you have more control over the processing afterward. This goes for all types of astrophotography. The files are bigger, yes, but they include the maximum amount of photo information. You'll also want to make sure that your your camera is in manual or bulb mode and that your shutter speed is in the 1/500th of a second exposure range. Shooting in manual mode means that you are fully in control of every setting. So this is where practice can build confidence with your camera settings. You can just keep that white balance on daytime, and even the ISO setting is pretty straightforward for this type of photography. You can use a nice low setting like ISO 100 to 400 for pretty well all phases of the eclipse. Your shutter speed is where you'll really play around depending on the phase that it's in. For example, you may shoot the early partial phases of the eclipse at 1/500th of a second for a well-exposed, sharp shot. During totality, a longer exposure of half a second or more may be needed to reveal the corona surrounding the sun. Keep in mind, if you're using a setup like this without tracking, you'll need to keep that exposure time rather short to avoid any amount of blur in the image, especially at longer focal lengths. It is a moving target after all. You can use your camera lens's lowest f-stop, maybe f4 to start, but consider stopping down to f8 for an even sharper shot. With that teleconverter in place, my lowest f-stop on this setup is f8, which should be a great all-purpose setting for the event. With the sun now visible on the live view screen, we can start experimenting with different settings and see how they affect the brightness of the sun in real time. To focus your lens, use the 5 or 10 times zoom on your live view screen on the edge of the sun. Adjust the focus ring on your lens until it's as tight as possible. If there are any sunspots on the surface of the sun, these can be an even better focusing aid for your lens. Once you've found a sharp focus you're happy with, you can pretty well keep it there for the entire event, but maybe check it again throughout the process, especially before totality. When you're happy with your exposure, focus, and framing of the sun, you can go ahead and take a few shots. For my example images, the settings were ISO 400 and a shutter speed of 1/250th of a second. Your settings will be somewhere around here depending on the f-stop of the lens you're using. It's totally normal to take a few shots and tweak your settings to find the sweet spot. If you're not using an intervalometer, make sure you use the delay timer to avoid any camera shake. 10 seconds is best. Now here's the tricky part. Because the total solar eclipse is an evolving event, you'll need to stay on your toes. The same camera settings that work for the early partial stages of the eclipse may not work well for the later stages. As the moon gradually covers the disk of the sun, the image will become darker and may require more light to properly expose. The diamond ring effect stages right before and after totality are where this is really pronounced. So you'll need to act quickly to get this right. I like to use Adobe Lightroom or Adobe Bridge when reviewing a lot of raw image files captured with my DSLR mirrorless camera. Here we have a few test images I've taken with the camera setup you saw, just so you can kind of see what to expect in terms of images and the exact settings I used. So what I found with my system, because I'm at f8, which is pretty slow compared to what a lot of you are shooting, maybe f5.6 or something. So I actually had to bump up the ISO a little bit to get a brighter, well-exposed image. This is pretty well perfect here. The version of the sun you see here, if I zoom in, I can see a pretty sharp sunspot on there. Pretty cool sunspot, actually. So I just use the edges of the sun to help me focus, really dial it in. The other thing to note here is that, you know, camera shake could be a real issue for you, especially with the setup I have on that little tripod. Little gust of wind comes by and it doesn't take much to shake it up at over 500 millimeters. So for capturing the majority of the stages of the eclipse, not totality, it's pretty straightforward as far as camera settings go. We're looking at one here that was captured at ISO 400, 1/60th of a second, so fast enough to not see any motion in the sun. If we open it up here, the raw image, that's the key, take everything in raw. There's a lot you can do with the image after the fact. So if I look here, it looks like I was in pretty good focus, because you can't fix focus after the fact, but you could sharpen it up here in Adobe Camera Raw. You can do some color saturation improvements. There's a lot you can do as long as you've captured the image in raw image format and it's not like totally overexposed or underexposed. I hope that the example kit and the strategies shared in this video have helped you prepare for the upcoming total solar eclipse. If there's one piece of wisdom I tried to take away from the experienced eclipse chasers, it's that you don't want to miss the true solar eclipse experience by staring at your camera screen the entire time. Try to look up and enjoy totality with your eyes, at least for a while. You may find that this experience stands out in your mind long after the event, and pictures just can't capture that sensation.